Welcome to Freethought Forum, a program brought to you by the Rationalists of East Tennessee and the Atheist Society of Knoxville. I'm Sam Geltz, and this is my co-host,
Rick Davis.
And today our topic is going to be on rationality. But first, a little something about our sponsors. The Atheist Society of Knoxville has a fun meetup group down at Barley's in the Old City right after the show at 6 o'clock. If you want to have dinner and maybe drinks with a group of like-minded people, we're the largest table there. We usually have 20 to 30 people down there, including people of all ages, kids, everything. Everyone's welcome, believers, non-believers.
Additionally, on the first and third Sunday mornings, you can come out for the Rationalists of East Tennessee at the Pellissippi Community College. And the second Sunday at Books A Million, 2 p.m., to discuss the monthly book. This month's book is by the author Daniel Dennett. The name of the book is Consciousness Explained. You need not read to attend, so you can come out and see what's going on.
All right, now let's move on to a topic in the news. An Oregon couple is now going to prison for neglecting their newborn child who was a premature birth in 2011. Dale and Shannon Hickman are members of the Followers of Christ Church, and they are one of these churches that believes in faith healing. So they refuse to go to a hospital to have a birth, and this church has been in trouble for this sort of thing before. They don't believe in hospitals at all, basically, so they have births at their home. The baby was two whole months premature. And instead of taking the baby to the hospital, they just gathered around in a circle, put their hands together, and prayed. And, of course, the baby died.
It's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, not all states have laws against this, such as Indiana. They believe that faith healers they would not bring a law against this. So it's good to see that someone's being held accountable for this death.
Absolutely.
It's negligence. And I think this topic leads right into our main topic of the show, rationality. That couple was not using rationality to take care of their child.
Yeah, no.
So how do you think rational?
To think rational, I think, one of the first things you need to do is understand, what rationality actually is and how critical thinking helps lead to making more rational decisions. Rationale is basically just the ability to reason, to take in the information that's being presented to you and make a judgment. Critical thinking is one way of doing that, to look objectively at things. In that particular situation with this child, I don't feel that they were looking at the situation
not very objectively.
Very objectively in terms of the consequence of not making the appropriate decision. So I think that those two things go hand in hand: rational thought and critical thinking, and you can apply them in multiple areas of your life.
Yeah, every aspect
to help
of your
you
life,
make
really.
better judgments and better decisions to get through your day.
One of our sponsors of the show is called the Rationalists of East Tennessee.
Right.
And the reason they're called that is because they didn't want to be associated with the word atheists like the Atheist Society does, because rationalist is kind of more beyond just that. It's not just one way of belief. It's a way of thinking about multiple things in life, not just religion, but about science or just a worldview, really.
Yeah.
So it's a more accurate way to, because atheist describes what you're not, a rationalist will more describe what you are and how your worldview is.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, rational thought and critical thinking are not mutually exclusive to atheists or to individuals that are secular. Those
everyone has
tools,
to use a little bit to get anywhere in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Those tools can be used, in any entity and in many different capacities. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on the other side of things, you have faith, which is kind of a shut-off point of rationality.
Yeah, I think the conflict there is, in my opinion, rational thought is based on knowledge. Your ability to go out into the world and to learn and understand your environment and the way that we all interact with it, versus faith, which, the foundation is belief, just a willingness to say, this is the way things are, without necessarily finding, evidence for.
Yeah, and there's a little problem there because they do believe that they have the evidence. We live in a golden age of information where you can just go on the internet and type in whatever and it will bring up, but it will also bring up whatever is tailored to your beliefs already. Like, if you are a creationist, then you can find creationist sites that will parrot what you already believe. So how can we make sure that we are finding the truth and not just feeding our own beliefs that we have already?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I do, and I'm sure, a lot of people nowadays are very familiar with social media, and you'll scroll through your feed and you'll read a story, and if you don't employ your tools of critical thinking and rational thought, you can just, accept that as a belief, and then you go out and you tell someone else, and you spread a story around that's based on bad evidence. You have to take the time to source where that information is coming from, and to the best of your ability, determine if that's a likelihood, or if it's
it's important.
Something that someone just made up and put out there as a truth. So I think the goal there is to find good evidence for your point.
I think something that you told me a while ago was you're on Facebook and you see a different opinion than yourself, and a lot of people will get mad and they will just block that person. They don't want to see the different opinion on their board. I have people on my list that I don't agree with, and I see their thing, and maybe I'll get mad and I'll try to hold myself back from commenting on it, but I'm not going to limit my circle of ideas that I see. You have to be able to see what other people believe in and entertain an idea without accepting it, which is very important to understand of how others think around you and to understand their idea, and then you can really look into it of the truthfulness of it or not.
Yeah, definitely. On that note, there were times in my life where, I had a particular understanding of something, but when new evidence came into that, it changed my view on it. It allowed me to actually grow and understand that particular topic a little better. But you have to be willing to accept new evidence. If you put yourself in a position where you say, this thing here, that's what it is, and that's what it's always going to be, you're selling yourself short on expanding, on the knowledge that could be had. Just basically being stubborn, and not being willing to change your perspective based on the information you have available to you.
Yeah, I would hope that everyone has different beliefs now than they had when they were in high school. I hope that we, our experience in life and the knowledge we've gained has changed our opinions. I've had many opinions that I've held that I don't believe anymore. I had believed in God at one point, I don't now. So you have to be able to, kind of arrogance to try to hold on to a position forever.
Yeah.
You have to be able to kind of entertain it.
Well, I think, life will challenge you every day. Your careers, your personal relationships with people, your encounters with the natural environment. Those things are going to, to challenge your opinions daily. And, if you're unwilling to accept that information, you're really losing out on, a lot of things that could enhance your life, in my opinion.
One of my favorite quotes in the Bible that I use to disprove the Bible is, I'm paraphrasing, but when I was a child, I thought as a child.
Right.
And when I became a man, I let go of, silly ideas. And I kind of think that to lead into, let go of them. Like when you're a child, you have a type of thinking called magical thinking.
Oh, absolutely.
You see the world in a completely different place. and you want it to be magical and mystical, and imagination is important, especially at that age. But
At any age, I think
yeah,
imagination would be
well,
important.
it's important to understand the difference between it being real and not real.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think a lot of people like the idea of magical thinking. They want the world to be more mystical than it is. They want, they want to see their loved ones when they die. They want there to be, another world behind this world.
Right.
Or, believe in energies that can affect things, or
Yeah.
they want a little more mysticism. And, that doesn't just deal with religion. It deals with other things too, such as pseudoscience.
Of course, yeah. You go to work and you have to imagine yourself getting that raise or getting that promotion, and you can sit there and daydream about a better job even, So
I mean, some of that stuff is just good mentally to put yourself in. I'm not saying that part of it is bad.
But the part that I think is bad is that when people expect their own personal imagination to be accepted by other people as a truth, that's where I think a big conflict occurs.
I mean,
people have that perspective and they try to force it on you, and when you don't accept it, then they're ready to argue with you about it and try to convince you otherwise with their own bad evidence for why it might be true.
I mean, a lot of the times it's harmless. Like if someone has a coin that they think is lucky, or a crystal that they think brings them good energy, but like our news story, when they believe that they can pray an illness away, then it does hurt somebody. So if it can be fun when it just affects them and not their health. I mean, maybe the coin thing might affect them monetarily. They'll go to the slot machine more often.
Yeah.
But you have to draw a line with how it affects you and other people.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that a lot of religious people that I know in my personal life, one of the tools they use to argue against my perspectives on using critical thinking or rational thought is morality. And I've actually heard this in presidential debates, and other individuals that you would think have a larger capacity for critical thinking, and instead they opt for this perspective where you can't have morality without religion.
Yeah, we hear that all the time.
And it's it's just totally untrue. In my personal life, if I get cut and I'm hurt, or if I'm hungry, or if I'm cold, if I'm experiencing these things and feeling these things, and I know that other people around me are subjected to those same feelings, then I can create, a sense of empathy. I can understand how you feel and know that you probably wouldn't like being cold if I don't like being cold. And I believe, my personal belief is that empathy that's created through our understanding of each other is the source, is the foundation of morality. That's how we develop our morality, is to say we don't want to do to other people things that we don't want done to ourselves. And I don't think that is a term or a sentiment in human life that should be or is exclusive to religion, and that if you don't have
they kind of want to take
religious context behind it,
they want morality to be theirs.
Of course,
they want to be like that's
take
the
that as their
reason.
crown jewel.
They put the golden rule in the Bible, but the golden rule was around long before.
Yeah.
They want to claim it. They want that to be the reason why you take your kids to church to learn morality, because if they don't, they'll
of
just
course,
be heathens.
And if it is a tool that you have at your disposal to open the door.
We've got a caller.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Freethought Forum. You are on the air right now. Can we get a name or a nickname?
Just caller would be fine.
Okay, caller.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the fellow on the left there, his name. But he mentioned rationality in politics, and as you were sitting here saying bad things about irrational people, I was wondering if maybe there's not a way that actually irrationality is being used against us. I mean, if a huge portion of the population is absent of critical thinking or irrational, would not a politician be missing out if he doesn't capitalize on that bunch of the population that is
Yeah,
irrational.
I think it's a whole voter base.
Well, to answer you first, my name is Rick, and thank you for calling in. We do appreciate it. And I understand your point, but do you think that a politician should he just sacrifice his integrity only to reach out to a particular section of the population to get a vote, or do you think
elected?
that to be elected? Yeah, I mean, do you think that politician should?
Did you say should the politician sacrifice his what?
Integrity.
Yeah, you said politician and integrity in the same sentence.
Yeah, I know.
How are you? What's wrong with you?
I'm not sure I understand what your point is. You're saying that.
I mean, I'm obviously saying that there's not much integrity with politicians. I mean, let's take. There's so many examples.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
And allowing the bombing, when you knew it didn't work, to all the other to George Bush, who said,
yeah, I will refuse to comment on that.
I mean, like the old quote, the religion is seen by kings or politicians as useful. It's useful. It's a tool. It's a way.
Actually, I think who you might be quoting is Napoleon Bonaparte, who said that religion is politically expedient.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, since the dawn of time, since the dawn of religion, it has been used to. I mean, I think at one time maybe religion was good to get a bunch of people to believe all the same thing and kind of be a spearhead to it. But in our large open society now, we don't need something like that to bring us together. We have.
However, we do have, I mean, your subject of your show is irrationality, and you were the ones that mentioned politics. But even today, I mean, last political election, we had half of the GOP publicly said that God told them to run for president. I imagine that was the case for sure, that God must have been cutting his odds, thinking, well, if I get a bunch of them to run, then maybe one of them will win.
Maybe he just enjoyed the fight.
Well, in this political cycle, we have Huckabee, who says that we need more sin control than gun control. And we have a Fiorino who says that, I mean, well, I don't know if this is in the realm of irrationality or just plain believing that the population will believe something that you blatantly say to be a lie, about how she's describing fetuses were rising on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like...
I think that, some of those instances that you're pointing out, I mean, those things are... in lots of cases, just as you mentioned, they're just bold-faced lies. I don't think that if we're looking for terms of rationality, I don't see how anyone, politician or otherwise, could rationalize putting information out there in that way, whether they're trying to pander for your support or not. I personally can't understand why someone would put information out there in that way.
I mean,
it's harmful,
They're pleading to the other side.
Yeah.
We come to conclusions two ways, with rationality and emotion, and they're clearly pleading to an emotional reaction, especially Fiorina, who you're talking about. Like, it doesn't matter how true that is. There's going to be a certain number of people who just are shocked and horrified at it.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't even care how true it is.
Right.
They get a feeling out of it, especially when she has such passion behind it. Doesn't matter how fake it is. She's going to get something from it.
I think that's a perfect opportunity for individuals to employ these tools to come to a judgment on that situation, is to actually look for that information, find out whether or not it's true. It's your personal responsibility to look for that information. If you take that, at face value and you just run to the voting booth with that in mind, that's not employing these tools. That's being completely irrational and you understand?
I understand just fine. But the most blatant irrational or rational versus what you've been talking about here is Carson, Ben Carson. Now, when you have a person that says, I believe it because it's in the Bible, and you've had people call into your show and say, well, if it's in the Bible, I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have a president who is saying, or a presidential contender, Ben Carson, who is saying, we are in the end of days.
Yeah, how is
Now,
he
I
going
don't
to...
know if I want a president, with the button right there, thinking, oh, it's got to be the end of days, so let me hit that nuclear button.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a clip from a movie with Charlie Sheen where
Yeah.
they display that. Or
Yeah,
Martin
yes.
Sheen, Martin Sheen, yeah.
Yes, that movie was Dead Zone.
Dead Zone, yeah.
Dead Zone.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
we don't
I
want one of those
have-
presidents in there.
We've had, George Bush said that God put him in office.
I mean,
don't know if
he really did think it was a holy war, and there's plenty of soldiers who believe that too while they're out there.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
actually, George Bush described the conflict that he was in as a crusade
That's
twice.
a bad,
that I know of.
very
Yeah,
bad
that's,
word
the
to
That
use
history,
in
means
that context.
a war against from Christians to Muslims.
Yeah, it
It's
absolutely did,
it's
yeah.
definitely hard to, kind of come across the
Misinterpret.
aisle. Yeah, you can't really make friends when you're using terminology like that. Like,
Yeah.
how are we going to be diplomatic about a situation where we say, no, it's our God versus yours? And that's why we have to fight constantly to try to keep this a secular nation.
Well, I'll make a challenge to your viewers out there. I want all of you Freethought Forum viewers to use your rationality when you're voting for president this time.
Yes, please.
And for every one that votes for correctly, I will vote 10 times more as correctly.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
calling.
much, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. The lines are open again. If someone else wants to call in, go ahead and give us a question or what you're thinking. If you're rational or not, we'd like to hear from you. It's fun either way.
Yeah.
Another thing that I had brought up when, with our caller, emotion is the other side of rationality. You come to your conclusion two ways. And like he was saying with people, hearing it, something a politician says, I have to think, do they even care the truthfulness of it, or do they just like the feeling they get from it? Which I think is why a lot of people stick with religion for a while. We have another caller. Hello, you are on the air right now, Freethought Forum. Can we get
Yes, this is Charles from Central Illinois.
Oh, hey, Charles. How you
Hello,
doing?
Charles.
Yeah, in regards to the statement by Napoleon Bonaparte,
Mm-hmm.
roughly, let's see, 17 centuries or so earlier, it was stated that religion is considered wise by the foolish,
Yeah.
foolish by the wise, and useful by rulers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that it's nothing new about that.
That's
No,
always, like
no.
I said, it's always been true. It's always been grabbed upon as a way to lead people, and especially like we said, the people that they need something to follow almost instinctually. Like free thinkers are almost like we always say with atheists that herding atheists is like herding cats. Like if someone's thinking for themselves and trying to look for new information, we don't really like to be part of a herd. It's not really.
Yeah, you're trying to get off
It's not
the,
really
the path
herd
and-
mentality. We kind of look back on, if everyone's going in the same direction. The few that stop and look around like, why are we walking this way again?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just,
That's-
Oh, go ahead, Charles.
That's one of the problems that we have with us. A lot of people are looking for the quick, simple, feel-good answers, okay? And they get them at the church with a lot of singing and chanting and the occasional rabble-rousing.
Yeah, fills them
Yep.
with the spirit.
So,
Get some good feeling out of it.
unfortunately, that when they do things like get a hold of textbooks and start editing things out that don't suit their agendas,
Yeah, some 1984 type
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I
such
think
as
there was a recent one in Texas, I believe. They were
always
going
in
through
Texas,
the...
yeah.
It's always... nothing against Texas, but... So,
oh no,
So, Charles, I think a lot of people just aren't even willing to question. They don't want to question. They just want to accept things and be safe and feel safe, as opposed to free thinkers who tend to look out into the world and say, what's that? How does this work? You know, how do you feel? How does all this fit together? You know, I think questioning is really the way to get that information, and some people just aren't comfortable with the answers that they're going to get, so they don't bother, questioning it. They just, find something to believe in.
Well, that's the thing about free thinkers. We enjoy discovering new things. We enjoy
Absolutely.
the oddity that pops up that doesn't match what's going on and how things are supposed to work.
Yeah. Sometimes the truth isn't convenient, and some people, choose to go with it no matter which way it is, and some people want to stay blind, lead their happy life, thinking they'll see the loved ones. Or
that was the problem with Sir Frederick Hall, I think his name was, when we came out with the expanding universe. The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
He had some serious scientific chops. He's the one that figured out that nuclear synthesis happened in stars.
yeah,
And supernova would generate even larger ones.
Yeah.
But when it got to a certain point, he couldn't go on because he couldn't accept it.
yeah, especially back then when those type of thoughts are going against the mainstream belief.
Right. I think
It's dangerous to people.
In my experience, the root of that is really fear. People are afraid. We like we mentioned earlier in the show, people want to believe that they're going to see their loved ones again, and they want to believe in a world or a life or existence after this one. And I think fear is really the largest catalyst for settling for an irrational view on the world.
Yeah, they almost feel like they have more control. Like I said, if it's not even religion, but if they believe in luck, they believe that they'll have more control over the outcome of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that and the fact that it means it disturbs a problem that they have in all major religion about the importance of us humans have in the universe. All of a sudden, we're not the center of the universe. We're not the...
Right.
It feels kind of quite alone, right?
Yeah, people don't like to feel insignificant.
They don't want to forget that our galaxy is like on a collision course with another one.
Right.
Like,
in 100 billion years, come on.
I mean, I'll be long gone.
Yeah, I personally, I find it charming to be a living entity on this, this rock flying around the universe.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's charming.
It's almost humbling when you really accept it,
yeah.
but it's scary to some people.
Yeah.
I find it thrilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The latest work on things like dark matter, dark energy, and things of that nature, I find to be wow, isn't this cool?
Yeah.
I like Bill Nye's statement, if your beliefs do not correspond with the universe, you're going to have to change your beliefs, so the universe isn't going to change.
Yeah. They've definitely tried to fight that. They put the blinders on, cover up their ears.
Or the biblical glasses like good old Tim Ham wants.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you guys go.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for
Nice
calling
hearing
in,
from
Charles.
you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, the lines are open again, but I think we're going to take our mid-program break, so you can call in right afterwards. Let's run the videos.
You're not alone. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun and friendly group of people just like you that meets twice a week at a bar or restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun. Do you find stories of talking snakes laughable? Do you prefer the scientific method over supernatural beliefs? Are you concerned about religious leaders and organizations imposing their values and rules on your body, your family, and the rest of our society? Well, take comfort in the fact that you're not alone. The Rationalists of East Tennessee meets weekly for fellowship and provides a forum for people who support skeptical thinking and rational discussion of these and other issues. To find out more information or to find out about our next meeting, visit us on the web at www.rationalist.org.
Okay, we're back on. If you'd like to call in, go ahead and call in now. We'd love to hear you, especially if you have a different opinion than us. Those are most of the time the most fun conversations. A little different opinion other than hearing our own thrown back at us. Well, let's move on. We're talking about rationality if you're just tuning in, how to think rationally, what rationality is, and how it affects different parts of your life. One thing that I want to move into is cognitive dissonance with people who can go to school, get a degree, even a science degree, become a doctor, or maybe even a scientist, and still hold on to, supernatural ideas, and how people can compartmentalize parts of their life and still believe this type of thing.
I have personally experienced, even recently, people, getting behind individuals because they believe that, they are educated. They have spent time learning hard sciences and, obtaining advanced degrees, but who still hold a supernatural belief in things. And, they'll use that as an argument against me as to why this person should be trusted or believed over another person. I believe that they're struggling with that cognitive dissonance. They just can't accept that, someone could hold two conflicting thoughts that way, again, it's an opportunity for them to employ their own ability to reason and come to a judgment on that, But
based on somebody else, even.
Yeah, exactly.
They believe it, and they are at this high stature.
Right.
Something that I bring up is Ben Stein's documentary Expelled, and his idea in that was look at all these scientists who are in the scientific community that are being discriminated against because they believe in God, and the whole documentary was supposed to be about how, their scientific community hates Christians and they try to push them out. I mean, if a scientist is Christian and they don't try to, if they just ignore it as part of their work, then I don't think they have a problem with it. And I'm sure there's a number of scientists, not the majority, that are religious, but there's definitely is some. But the ones that he was talking about in this documentary, and Ben Stein's another one of these people that, people he always plays a teacher, he has glasses, he was on a quiz show, he's smart.
Right.
So they try to follow him, but he is a creationist, believes the world's 6,000 years old. But the people in this documentary were people that were trying to put this into their theses, that were trying to push religion into the work when it didn't hold up to the strict scientific vigor, and that's why they were being kicked out, not because of their beliefs and there's some kind of conspiracy against them.
I've been hearing a lot lately in my personal circles, and of course, social media, a great source of news, by the way.
Nowadays, it can be more honest than news stations.
But the term that I've been hearing practically all year long is persecution. How people are being persecuted for their beliefs or for their worldview, and again, when you employ your ability to look at information critically and you listen to their arguments, it falls apart almost instantly. For people to think that they're being persecuted in one way or another, some big topics of the year, the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage, and how an entire nation of people who have a belief in a particular religious persuasion, have all of a sudden felt like they've come under attack. And just like the documentary you mentioned with Ben Stein, you have scientists who feel like they're being attacked because of their personal beliefs, when really it's just the fact that, you're using critical thinking skills and rational thought to come to a judgment that's fair and
Or
balanced
even
for
empathy
all the
on
people.
the
Yeah,
fact
exactly.
of the gay marriage thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like they cling to the Bible says something about gay people, maybe once, twice. It's all in the Old Testament. Jesus never
Right.
said anything about it. But they try to cling to it, and it's not really so much because God hates gay people. Maybe you hate gay people.
Maybe you're just
And-
scared or fearful of
Yeah.
the lifestyle, or you don't understand it, all those different things
Mm-hmm.
that factor into it. But regardless of what your source is, whether it's the Bible, whether it's your Uncle Joe,
Mm-hmm.
whether you saw it carved onto a rock, if you're unable to ask questions and not be afraid of the answers you might find, then you're just taking something at face value and you're walking along with that belief. It could be just be bad information. It could have been a joke. Somebody could have carved something on a wall as a joke, and you're taking that as truth, and then trying to go out into the world and share that with everyone.
Oh, yeah,
and getting upset, and then now I'm being persecuted because you don't want to believe Uncle Joe's rock in the backyard.
The whole Bible's just a big game of telephone. It has been told over and over again and translated over and over again. Like, pieces have been taken out and put in. Like, how can you believe that this is the source of everything? Like we have said, like, people cite the Bible as, I believe it because it says it.
Right.
But they don't look at, like, how it was made and how it was put together. And, there's whole schools of, religious schools that look at that and how they try to rationalize it of, God had his hand. He was pushing things around to all fall into the right place. But
well, when you have a piece of information, and it is first of all, it's ancient. Second of all, it's been
I think
translated, rewritten, revised, edited, and completely altered from its original form so many times for so long. It makes it really hard to look at that as a credible, reliable, rational source of information to base your judgments on.
I think the fact of it being ancient gives people, they think that it gives it more merit because it's old. But it's harder to disprove something that is that old, too, because, no one was there.
Right.
But as you, go up further, and we can look at more recent religions, like Mormonism or Scientology, we can look like, oh, no, wait, no, we actually have records of how that person lived.
Right, exactly.
We actually know L. Ron Hubbard wrote fiction books, and we know what he did and who he did it with.
I believe he was probably at the time he was one of the most prolific writers ever. So, ability to just generate a story.
Got another caller now. Hello, you are on Freethought Forum right now. Can we get a name or a nickname?
Al.
Hey, Al.
Hello, Al.
Hey, Al.
What do you have for us, Al?
Al, are you able to hear us?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh,
I
fantastic.
guess I can hear you. I'm listening to two guys that don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, well, tell us.
What
since
do
you know
you
everything.
disagree with, Al?
Well, we disagree with this, that the Bible,
Yeah.
2 Timothy 3:16, all Scripture is inspired by God.
Okay.
Every word in the King James Bible,
Now,
788,258 words,
okay, I get where you're coming, but
were inspired by God, given to man to write down, and it hasn't changed.
it hasn't changed. It's changed many times. What do you mean
No,
it
it
hasn't
hasn't.
changed? There's so
It's
many different
never
versions
changed.
of the Bible.
those
There's
are-
the
The
King James.
Bible has never
Oh, okay.
changed.
So you like that version of the Bible?
It's not a version.
Yeah.
It's called the King James Version.
It's not called the King James Version.
So
it's called the
Well,
King James Bible.
You should-
It
Okay.
doesn't. It's not a
Al,
version.
Al, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that is the exact same source of information that was around 2,000 years ago
Oh yeah.
that was given to the people?
Yep.
I mean, we
Okay,
know that's
I
not
have
true.
to disagree. I have to disagree because I do know for a fact that it was written in an entirely different language. It was, it was an ancient language.
It was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic.
It's been translated into thousands of languages at this point.
Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic.
My other languages aren't very good, but a lot of times I'll get words mixed up, and they can have drastic differences.
But you're all mixed up in your head.
I'm not mixed up at the moment.
But Al,
this is just another case.
Al, can we agree though that would make logical sense? That if you think about the fact that this particular writing has undergone a tremendous amount of changes over time, can we agree that has?
Well, the King James
let's
Bible has not
all
changed
of that.
one word.
Okay. Let's just take that. I was just talking about this a minute ago. You
now,
are basically saying it's true because it says it's true, right?
Different Bibles put copyrights on it to make millions of dollars. That's what it's all about.
Can you address my point? You are saying it's true because it says it's true, right?
I'm saying it's true because God says it's true.
But yeah, it says on it, it's true because it says it's true. So if I wrote a piece of paper and said, this is true because I said it's true, by God, and then showed it to you, you'd be like, oh, well, it obviously says it's by God right there. It must be true because it says it's true right there. Can't you read? Anybody can do this. You don't think somebody, anybody could have written that down. This every other religion says the exact same thing. Every other religion says the exact same thing that you did.
To pen every word in the King James Bible.
And every other religion says the exact same thing.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. They all claim they're true.
Their Bibles. They've changed the words in their Bible.
Okay.
They get copyright that make millions of dollars.
Al, I've got a question for you. Our show today is on rational thought.
Well, you guys ain't rational at all.
How am I being irrational?
You two guys are irrational. Let me give you an example.
Well, the definition of rationalism is a belief or theory that opinions and actions should be based on reason and knowledge, rather than on belief or an emotional response.
Give us one more thing before we move on.
Okay, let me give you an example about the Big Bang. All right, let's say you go. Hey, let's say, hey, you're talking while I'm talking. How can you hear me?
I can hear you, Al.
Okay, give us your point so we can move on.
I'm ready.
Yeah, the Big Bang.
All right, so 10 guys come into a room, and they get all these very expensive wristwatches on their hands, and the professor says, take the watches off, and I want you to take the watches apart, piece by piece.
No, the blind watchmaker argument, I'm way ahead of you.
All the screws.
That is not how it works.
Every dial, everything.
That's not how we make things.
I want you to put all those pieces into a bucket, and then I want to put a small firecracker in there called the Big Bang.
Okay. I see your point. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go. And I hear you. I'm gonna let you go. And okay, he's gone. Let me address his point.
Okay.
He was kind of talking over us the whole time. We put up with him for a bit. But yeah, the blind watchmaker argument is where he was heading to.
Right.
If you say that there is a universe or even a person or body that was made by an all-knowing, extremely powerful being, why would he make us, even just people, why do we still have wisdom teeth? Why do we have parts of us, our backs, are made for when we were hunched over? That is why people have back pains in their midlife, because standing up straight hurts, because we are not perfect beings. And I know you're going to say that sin is the reason of the fall. Okay, I get it.
I recently got into this really great debate with another friend of mine about the fact that humans walk upright, and that I had looked at some science, and there's been some some models that were developed, basically taking if life were to exist anywhere else in the universe, and you were given the same set of rules that govern our planet and our existence, and you were to run it through a computer and tell it to create a creature, it almost never creates a bipedal creature. So just statistically, the fact that we stand up like this is
it's not perfect. And
it's not perfect. It's not the most efficient for our environment.
I'm going to come off and they're going to say that it was sin and that we were perfect. But God's like, hey, you guys ate an apple. I'm going to put a wisdom tooth in there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put these places. Like, the example he's giving with a watch, like, when you look at a watch, there's not, like, just odd screws and, like, bolts and gears in there that don't do anything.
Right.
Like, we have parts in us that don't do anything and have no reason to be there. And if God made a watch like that, then you would find... Oh, we've got another caller. Let's take him real quick. Hello. You are on Freethought Forum. Can we get a name or a nickname? You're on the air.
This is Al.
Okay, Al. Did you understand what I was trying to say about the watchmaker and how we are not perfect? And the universe isn't, because stars die and explode and they crash into each other. Like, it's not just us. It's the whole universe is not made perfectly.
I want you to explain to me why there's order in the universe and in your life and on this planet, how it aims to be ordered. How you're ordered, like you got a nose, you got two ears, you got eyes, you got
There's
two
plenty of
feet, you
animals
got
that
hands,
don't
you
have
got a
that
mouth,
to get
you
along
got a
just
nose.
fine.
Yeah,
Where
Al,
did the order come from?
There's a lot of... Well,
Illusion?
first off, if there was not order, then we wouldn't be here to argue about
Right,
this.
we have to look, okay, given the best tools and the best knowledge that we have to understand order, how these things came together, one of the most fundamental principles of that is just, conserving energy. I mean, a sphere is a sphere because it conserves energy. I mean, we have...
Explosions does not create order.
I don't think you really have a understanding of how the Big Bang actually works.
And I don't
it
think
takes-
you do either.
Well,
I mean, I don't have a perfect way. I'm not a physicist.
I mean, we have to look at the fundamental elements of science.
Where did all this stuff from?
Well, if you've got an answer to that, I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, where'd God come from?
Yeah, if
Where did all this stuff come from, and where did all this space come from?
So you're saying, yeah, exactly. So how did God make all of this? Did he just blink and it was there? And where did he come from? Like,
Just spoke it, and it was there. How's that?
okay, so where did it come from? He just spoke it. There was nothing that had to happen.
Where was God
Well,
when this
nothing. He stood
occurred?
on nothing,
Can you even
spoke
just
it to
accept
nowhere,
that-
and spoke it into existence.
How about we try to accept that, okay, maybe there is a God, and he, took the materials he had, and he made an
He
explosion,
didn't have any
and made things
materials.
happen.
He spoke it into existence.
What if him speaking was the Big Bang? Can you accept that God maybe used the Big
God
Bang?
did not use the Big Bang.
No, he just blinked it, like
Well,
like a witch on TV.
I have a
He
fundamental.
twinkled his nose.
Yeah, I have a fundamental problem
created.
with using speaking. I mean, for an omnipotent, omnipresent super being to not have a better means of creating things other than using something like speaking or really rudimentary tools that all that humans use. No other animal or creature that we're aware of uses these tools. I mean, I would think if I were to think in my mind of an omnipotent omnipresent super
I
being,
think the world would look a lot different.
yeah, it would be actually in a lot more order than what it is, and the world is actually constantly moving towards disorder.
The universe.
Everything is in a state of
the universe
decay,
is
and it always
huge,
will be.
infinite,
You know what?
and cold.
At the end of your life,
and we're just a little dot in
are
it.
going to hell.
Like, God made all this space, and he's hardly
You guys
using
are
any.
going to hell.
Well, thank you. I
All right.
do not need to hear that. He's
No,
starting to
we
get a
don't
little,
need to hear that. We're not
he's starting to
talking
get a little
about.
ugly. If we have a caller that wants to have an actual back and forth conversation instead of insulting us about our placement in the universe after we die,
Yeah.
then go ahead and call us. But,
imaginary places at that.
yeah, that is
Scientifically
you're gonna go to
impossible
Narnia
imaginary
when you die. It
places.
doesn't affect me. You're
Right.
not scaring me with that. It might work on you. But so God made this whole universe. It's wide, infinite, vast, and he's just going to only make his best creature on this little speck over here, and only worry about this. Who
Well, this
cares
is
about the rest of it?
This is the
He
whole
made it.
topic of the show is about critical thinking and
Another
rational
call.
thought.
We don't have a call screener today. If it's Al, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, well, we've got less than 15
10
minutes to call.
We can take a quick call. Do we have a name or a nickname?
This is Al.
Oh, come on, Al. Get
No,
on something
I'm not
fast.
gonna stop.
2 seconds. 2 seconds.
No.
Oh, well, there he's gone. I'm sorry, but Al's trying to hold up our phone, so we're just going to continue with the show.
Well, we're not trying to argue, and we're not trying to be trolled or
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate talking to somebody like that.
Yeah.
It brings up the point, and I want to say this quote right now because
Sure.
I think that it's really practical for the situation we were just in. You cannot reason someone out of a position that they did not reason themselves into.
So,
Like, no matter
it's a great
how
one.
much reason we use to try to talk somebody out of that, he's going to stand hard into it. He did not come into that position with knowledge.
Right.
He did not come into that position by viewing his options.
Right.
Like, it's a hard-held belief that he is going to refuse any evidence. He's not, like we said, you have to look at the other side to even be able to understand it.
Right.
Even if he doesn't believe in the Big Bang, he should go and look and study it and try to understand even what we think about it, because I've done the same.
Yeah.
I've studied the Bible. I don't believe in the Bible, but I've studied it, and he should do the same with science.
Well, I agree,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, from my perspective, for someone to believe in something so enormously, out of our depth, to be able to allow yourself to believe something that grandiose, but to not believe that it could equally not exist, is to me, I mean, that's just a conflict of thought that's beyond me. You're using the same argument, that I'm using, which is, you should be able to see both sides of that.
Yeah.
You're going to step out there and say that all of this has to be true, but when I say all of this has to not be true, you can't accept that.
I know he's still watching right now,
Yeah.
and I think he's still trying to get through. If it's someone else, I apologize.
Yeah, we're not going to take a chance on that.
Yeah, but I challenge him to go look up the Big Bang Theory, and come back to us next week with a explanation of how other people think about it. I can tell you how religious people think about their topic, because I can study it without accepting that idea, and I hope that he would be able to do the same instead of just saying that it's not true. Like, he doesn't know the basis.
You can tell us
behind
it's not true, but there is a tremendous amount of hard evidence to
and I
to
don't
support-
claim that I'm a physicist. Like, I do not know the intricacies
Right.
of it, so I'm not one qualified to get into it in depth. But I can at least admit that, and I can admit that even my layman knowledge of it, I can understand it to be real. And I also, science is built on the shoulder of giants. Like, we have to accept what people have brought before us.
Yeah,
It's a foundation built upon it.
Like I said before,
Science
until I
expands.
get new evidence, the worldview that I have that includes the science behind the Big Bang, as new evidence comes in for scientists and new evidence comes in for me, that's where, my mind is going to be in terms of trying to grasp and understand the universe that we live in and the world that we're a part of. The things that are more important to me are, as I mentioned before, being able to maintain a level of empathy and connection with fellow people, so that I can maintain my level of morality, but to employ the same techniques that allow me to understand these things in the rest of my lives, and to stay rational and to critically think about the world around me and not just accept things as they fly in. I'm always going to question things, and I encourage everyone to always question things. And the thing is, I'm not afraid to be wrong.
Yeah,
it takes
a certain level of a person to admit they're wrong.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of individuals like Al that called in.
Do you think he's ever going to admit he's wrong about anything?
They're afraid to be wrong. They don't want to be wrong, and that's another thing that stops you from being able to gain more knowledge and understanding, or even to gain more empathy with other people. That type of behavior pushes people away from you. It certainly doesn't
that's
garner
true,
a
too.
positive
Yeah,
emotional response. So.
It doesn't get to the empathy that you were talking about.
Yeah.
We're looking for a conversation. Like I was saying, science is built upon something. But religion, it's just like a foundation of a house with nothing built upon it. Like, there is nowhere else that it's going. Like, God's not releasing any new books. He's not
right.
It's been a while. Has he been working on one for a while? Maybe he's got writer's block. I don't know. Hasn't really been any big miracles either. But it's not being expanded upon. And when someone does write, a new chapter of the Bible, of course, people are going to say it's not real. The Bible didn't just fall out of the sky with by God on it. That's not how it happened. And we're not going to accept it otherwise. Where's the sequel?
Part 2.
Yeah, or part 3.
Well, we've got a few more minutes left here, and although we tend to get hung up almost every single time on religion, there are a lot of other areas of life where, these types of these ways of dealing with the world come in handy. In your personal relationships, in your career, as you're seeking an education, or even if you're struggling with friends, family, children, pets, whatever. It's you can't impose your religious perspectives on your pet Sparky. It's just,
how do you know your dog's a Christian?
Right. How do you know your dog? Do all dogs go to heaven? I don't know, but I do know that if you employ these tools of rational thought, you're probably going to be able to build a better relationship with your dog that way than trying to teach them religion.
As you say, rationality is in different parts of life. It's not just religion. That's one of the reasons why the Rationalists of East Tennessee call themselves that. They don't want to be, cornered in just talking about religion, just talking about that.
Yeah. I get accused of being lots of things, just due to my perspective on how to think and look at the world. And I feel like that's unfair. It's unfair for someone to just flat out call me an atheist or call me agnostic or whatever else they think that I am at the time.
It's a label of something you're not what you are. We can call ourselves a humanist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're using their information, which may be flawed to begin with, to
like you said, like we don't have
to
morals.
just point at individuals like me and tell me what I am or am not, despite the fact that I am employing my ability to question, to continue to ask questions, to find answers.
I call myself a rationalist, and it doesn't just. It's not just religion. It's like I don't believe in anything that is supernatural or something that is brought forth without evidence, whether it be ghosts or reading tea leaves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or conspiracy theories.
How can you pick one over the other? Even you're
all
going to believe in this
thinking.
type of supernatural belief, but not any of the multitudes of other ones or other types of religious entities that may or may not be out there. So picking and choosing your battles there, that's not a very rational approach to
Al was trying to say that other religions don't claim that they're truth. Like, of course they do.
They all do.
And I'm sure if he was born on the other side of the world, he would be saying the same thing about a different religion. Like, it's just kind of the culture that you're born into.
Yeah, and then that's another entirely arbitrary, position you just fall into. So.
Yeah. We still got 2 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Anything else you'd like to tie up on right before we get off? A message of how to think rationally.
I've been saying it throughout the show, and the thing to do is to look at the information that's presented to you. Think critically about it, which means to question it. And
no matter what it is,
no matter what it is, question it, and instead of using an emotional response or just an impulse towards
something like
what
that,
you think it may be.
And my challenge to Al and any of the other viewers that have a different opinion, like at least try to understand it before you try to argue it.
Yeah.
Like anything, even politics. Like try to understand how the other side thinks before you try to fight against them. Okay, we're down to the last minute of our show, so we want to remind you of our sponsors. We're Atheist Society of Knoxville meets down at Barley's, like immediately right now. If you head there right now, you can meet us. Just be polite and shake our hand. Don't try to punch us. And the Rationalists of East Tennessee is the other group, and they meet at...
they're going to be meeting the first and third Sunday mornings at Pellissippi Community College, and the second Sundays is going to be their Skeptics Book Club at Books A Million. And again, you don't need to read the book to come along and participate. This month's book is Daniel Dennett, Consciousness Explained.
Yep, and I've been Sam Geltz.
This is Rick Davis.
And we would like to remind you to think rationally, and you are not alone.